Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. Welcome to this extremely important and critical AAA webinar for the March 2026 exam window. First of all, let me mute everyone. Okay, so guys, this is going to be an extremely important session, and I really hope so that at the end of this session, I will be able to uh, create a positive impact on your exam preparation. I really hope so that at the end of this session, you will have a little self belief that yes, you have got the potential and you can actually ace the exam in the remaining days. Okay, first thing first, let me give you a quick overview of this session. Intentionally, this session will be divided into four stages or four parts. So, yes, this session is going to be relatively lengthy as compared to the tomorrow's session or the day after tomorrow's session. So, this session is going to be relatively complex and relatively lengthy. Why would I say that? Because I have divided, I have segregated this particular session into four parts. Part one, where I will briefly share how do we teach at VIFHE, and more importantly, the exam course structure, few tips and tricks, few hacks in relation to the AAA exam. So the first stage is going to be really important, and that will give you a lot of clarity in relation to the subject that will make you understand how can you ace the exam. If you want to, how can you fail the exam? So yeah, that's going to be the stage one, including the exam format and the course content. And most importantly, why students fail this paper. Stage two, an extremely important stage, to be very honest, the most the shortest of all. Second stage is going to be a very brief stage. Second stage is where I will welcome anyone who wants to join the AAA revision batch, also known as crash batch or the crash course for the March 2026 exam window. So, as you all know, VIFHE always offers three different types of batches for a particular exam window: regular batch, followed by the resit batch, which starts after the result, and then finally, the third and the final batch, which starts approximately 20 days before the final exam. So, it's called the revision course. So, for the revision batch students, those who enrolled yesterday, those who enrolled today, or those who are going to enroll over the next 2, 3, 4 days, I have created a solid plan. The plan which is neither overwhelming nor there are any significant compromises. So it's a right balance. And that plan, I will share that plan with everyone. And if you're a regular batch student, if you are a self-study student, if you are a potential revision course student, that plan is going to give you a lot of motivation and most importantly, a clarity, a direction, because that plan also covers the top 30 questions which you need to prepare before you actually go on and attempt the mock exam. So yeah, a plan embedded with the top 30 questions. That's your stage two. Stage three, I will pick up one of the um, one of the core topic in this particular session, and I will teach you the drafting techniques, the marking scheme, the possible exam requirements, and then finally I will jump towards a past paper question probably from March, June 2024, and we will tackle a past paper question. So that's going to be the fourth stage where we will discuss the past paper question. Third stage where we will discuss the drafting techniques and the marking scheme. Second stage where I will be discussing a revision plan, a very optimistic plan. And the first stage, I think it's time I should move forward towards the first stage. And if you have got any queries or any concerns at the end of each stage, I will keep an eye on the chat box, and definitely I will be happy to answer your queries in relation to AAA or anything beyond that. So as of now, you're more than welcome to use the chat box. And as of now, I think I should head towards the stage one. Okay, so my name is Ahmed Mumtaz, and definitely, as we speak right now, all eyes should be on Monday, 2nd March 2026, the D Day, the day where you can actually qualify your ACCA, the day which you will remember forever because it's going to be your AAA exam day. The most important, I repeat, the most important ACCA exam as a chartered accountant, reporting and auditing, that makes 99% of your qualification. If you ask me, who is a chartered accountant? Someone who has to ensure compliance, either in the form of reporting using IFRS or in the form of auditing, making sure that there are no material misstatements. So reporting and auditing are super important. So AAA is one of the most important, but at the same time, it's a difficult cherry. It's a difficult nut to crack. But yes, you have got solid, you know, approximately you have got solid 23, 24 days left. So you can ace the exam provided you remain disciplined over the next 15 days. I repeat, the next 2 weeks are super important, and your motivation can go up, your motivation can go sky high, your motivation can be down to your knees, but one thing which can actually make you stand out, and the one thing which can actually make you ace this extremely complicated but at the same time important exam, that's your consistency. You should not rely on your motivation. You have to remain consistent. You need to create a plan, divide it into, for example, a plan of 14 days divided into each day, and that's it. Don't think what you are going to achieve after 3 days. Don't think what you need to achieve over the weekend. Just live in the moment, and each and every day should be a winning day with small chunks achieved per day. So if you want to hop in and join my revision course for the March 2026 exam window, although we are offering admissions for the June 2026 exam window as well, but as I said, all eyes are on Monday, 2nd March. So you can enroll and you can join the VIFHE's revision course. I will share the link, the direct enrollment link in the chat box at the end of the session or somewhere during the break or something. As of now, you should note down the admission department's number. You can always reach them out through the WhatsApp. Otherwise, the website is a far superior and a convenient option. Well, my name is Ahmed and I teach BT, AA and AAA at VIFHE. VIFHE is a gold online ALP, and it is a gold online ALP only because of its great and consistent results. We have got students from all around the globe. Last time when I checked it out, approximately somewhere around mid 2025, we had students from 146 countries. So yes, VIFHE has got a global recognition only because of its consistent results. I was part of the ACCA's elite panel where ACCA chose me to conduct webinars for both AA and AAA on multiple occasions. Moving forward, these are the recent position holders for the paper AA from all around the globe, and these are the recent position holders from the platform of VIFHE for the paper AAA. And I really hope so that you can be one of them. Although we all love and we all persuade and desire 50 marks, but a position is always going to make you stand out, and it always strengthens your CV. It always creates a buzz, and you can always go for the big four with the help of positions. So yeah, why not? Okay, moving forward towards the course content. Yes, your syllabus should be divided into 4 parts. According to ACCA, there are multiple syllabus areas. Syllabus area A, which is about the regulatory environment. Syllabus area B, which is a very underprepared topic. It's called professional and ethical considerations. Many AAA students would be conceptually clear for ethics. I would say 99.99% students are conceptually okay when it comes to syllabus area B, but 80 to 90% of the students would not score good enough or pass marks when it comes to a question on ethics. Why is that? A, they become complacent, they become overconfident. B, they wrongly assume that whatever knowledge and the drafting technique they have from the AA would work in AAA, which is clearly not the case. So if you are going to join my batch for the AAA course, please make sure you start with ethics. Please make sure you attend my knockout punch 1 and 2 on ethics. Knockout punch 1, where I've covered 3 threads out of the 6 threads we have. And with the help of those 3 threads and with the help of past paper questions, I will be demonstrating my drafting technique. And ethics knockout punch 2 is where I've covered the rest of the 3 or the next 3 ethical threads with the same consistent drafting technique. Now, that is important. So, the drafting technique for self interest is not different from familiarity. And for intimidation threat or for the management threat, I will be using the same drafting technique. And this is really important for you as a student. So, you will get a consistent same drafting technique for all the ethical issues, and you are going to be in love with this topic called ethics. In fact, we had live session 1 and 2 on the same as well. Then quality management is a very hot cake over the last 3-4 years. It is regularly tested by the examiner. So your syllabus areas A, B, and C can be prepared pretty quickly. That's what I call stage 1. Moving forward towards the stage 2, it's all about risk assessment, such as business risk, which you did not study in AA. It's about audit risk, which has got 2 components, risk of material misstatement and detection risk. So risk is a very important topic. Syllabus area D is super important. Your first full 50-mark question generally revolves around the planning stage. So it is heavily loaded with risk assessment questions such as business risk, risk of material misstatement. So moving towards syllabus area E, I would say along with syllabus area D, it is equally important because in the section B of the exam, you will face one complete question, one full 25-mark question on the syllabus area E, which is completion, review, and reporting. Other assignments and the current issues, that's what I call the last stage of your syllabus. So areas A, B, and C, that's your stage 1. Area D, that's your stage 2. Area E, as it is an exclusive area, that's your stage 3. And area F and G, that is your 4th and the final stage of the course. The exam format, you will have question number 1 having 40 technical marks plus 10 professional skill marks. Question number 2 and 3 within the section B of the exam, both having 20 technical marks and 5 professional skill marks. You cannot compare the pass rates of AAA with SBR or SBL. SBR and SBL both are your mandatory professional exams and both have got great global pass rates. They are always over and above 50%. And in fact, if you are going to compare the pass rates of AAA with ATX or AFM, still those 2 papers are having great global pass rates, nearly over and above 45-46%. What about AAA? Let's talk about June 2024, not so long ago, 37%, 38%, 39%, 39%, June 25, 40%. Okay, the last result, 38%. So on an average, I would say 38%. Now this 38% has got a huge gap. I would say it's a material gap if you compare this 38% with the 51, 52, 53% of SBL or even 50, 51% of SBR. In fact, This gap is a very bigger gap. Even if you compare it with ATX or AFM, those are somewhere around 46, 47%. So what's the learning outcome? What's the learning outcome when you evaluate and when you compare the pass rates of AAA? The learning outcome is indeed this requires the best version of you. You got to come up with the solid 14, 15 days. You cannot have a baggage of failure from the last session. You need to be fully devoted towards the AAA exam. You cannot pass this paper if your effort is a half-hearted one. You cannot pass this paper if your mind and your brain is distracted. You got to control the variables and you got to have a plan, a single day plan, and you need to execute it. That's it. You need to live per day and live in the moment, and you need to concentrate on certain goals, on certain targets, and eventually you will pass the exam. So it's really important for you to concentrate and believe that yes, you have got the potential and you can actually pass the exam. When it comes to your exam, your first question will primarily focus the planning stage of the audit. There will be 50 marks, 40 technical marks, 10 professional skill marks. Majority of the marks would be from the syllabus area D, which is about risk assessment. But along with that, you can expect a certain chunk maybe from current issues, a certain chunk maybe from ethics, a certain chunk maybe from syllabus area A. You never know. What about the section B? Well, we all know one question will be exclusively from the syllabus area E, which is completion, review, and reporting. The other question could be a combination of ethics with other assignments, ethics with quality management with current issues. So there are multiple options. The burning question is, before we conclude the first stage of the today's session, why students fail this paper? Why the failure rate is so high? Well, the failure rate is so high because it is my personal observation that many AAA aspirants, they will give so little time to the exam preparation itself. Not because they don't want to pass, it's just that they are too occupied in their professional and other commitments. And as a result of that, they will attend my lecture, they will read the question and the solution, and that's it. They will be absolutely crystal clear conceptually, but they will not do the hard work. They will not take the longer route, which ultimately leads towards the success. They will just rely on the lecture, or they will just rely on reading the stuff, but because that can be done pretty quickly, they will not actually open up the ACCA's practice platform. They will not open up the Microsoft Word. They will not pick up an external keyboard, and they will not type the answer. When you type the answer, even if with the help of my drafted answer, even after attending my lecture on the same, that eye to hand to brain coordination, when you actually go through and type the answer, so your hand to eyes to brain coordination, that creates a beautiful energy. It creates synergy to a greater level, and as a result of that typing, as a result of that time which you are going to invest on the practice platform, your typing speed would improve, your familiarity with the exam environment or the exam interface would improve, and you will pass the exam. And once you start typing the answer, once you start giving it the respect it deserves, automatically you start scoring professional skill marks as well. Guys, please let me tell you something. You can't have a diploma or a short course, and as a result of that, your professional marks would improve. No, you can score professional skills marks as you score the technical marks. So if a candidate is not giving respect to the typing, if a candidate is not typing the answers with the help of the solution, but the student is ignoring it altogether, not only you are losing and you're compromising on your technical marks, but along with that, automatically by default you are also compromising your professional skills marks. So if you could absorb my instructions which I just shared with you in the last couple of minutes, your issue number 1 and 2 would be resolved automatically. In fact, I encouraged you to go and type your answers the way I have drafted the answers. So don't idealize the ideal answers. Now, what are ideal answers? Those which are available on the ACCA's website or even from the Kaplan and BPP publishers. Those are ideal answers. Those are not incorrect answers, but those are overwhelming answers. Those are extraordinary answers. Those cannot be produced by an average student in the given time. So instead of idealizing the ideal answers, and most of the times those ideal answers, they do not have any consistency. They do not have a pattern. They are ideal answers with all the world's best content. So don't idealize the ideal answer. I will give you the latest, the updated, the far superior master file, and I will be sharing that master file tomorrow because we have got a session tomorrow morning. So at I believe 10 a.m. UAE time. So at that point of time, I will share the master file with all those students. So I want to see you all tomorrow. Don't ignore your syllabus area B and F. This is sometimes it's a common characteristic among the failures. They tend to compromise on ethics. They tend to ignore the other assignments. So don't ignore B and F. Well, as of now, skip this assignment and test part. Focus on the drafting techniques. Drafting techniques are super important, and my lectures are primarily focused on drafting techniques. Make sure you actually attempt the mock exam, and once your mock exam is marked by an expert tutor, once you actually receive the feedback, not just the total marks but the comments through which you will get to know where you have lost a mark and how you can actually improve your score. As a result of that, I'm sure you can ace your final exam in flying colors. Okay, I am done with the stage number 1. Now I should move towards the stage number 2, but let me check out the chat box. Uh, Sir, so much distortion in voice. This is my side only. Uh, Distortion. Is there any distortion for everyone, or is it resolved now? Is it okay now? Okay, totally agree. That's what I, yeah. Okay. Sir, please share the details. Like, are we going to have recorded lectures too, or only a selected past papers? Sanya is asking what is being offered in the revision batch. Sanya, been clear the whole time. Okay, thank you. Now it's resolved. Okay, Sanya, I will answer your query, but let me answer your query after stage 2. Why I'm saying that? Because there is a huge possibility that by the end of stage 2, automatically your query would be resolved. So can I have multiple yes from multiple students? Can I move forward towards the stage 2? Sir, ideally, how many minutes should be spent per mark? That's a tricky question, but I always say that you can invest 100 minutes for the question number 1, followed by 45 minutes for the question 2 and 3. Is this okay? Write it down, note it down somewhere. 100 minutes for the question number 1. That includes 40 technical and 10 professional skills marks. Don't complicate the issue. This many maybe someone would tell you, okay, divide this with 40, automatically you will score the professional skill mark. But just leave it. 100 minutes max for the question number 1, and then another 45 minutes each for question 2 and 3. Thank you. Okay, I've got multiple yes, which means I should move forward towards the stage 2. Give me Just a second. Yes. Okay, here we go. Let's start the stage two. Now, this is a very solid plan. Solid plan in a sense that neither it's overwhelming, neither it will overburden you, nor it will compromise anything. And the best part about this plan is number one, that also includes my top 30 questions. And the most fantastic part of this plan is if you are going to be part of the revision batch, you will have access to each and everything which I'm about to share. In the form of recorded lectures, we will have few live sessions. For example, we have a live session tomorrow, followed by another live session on Sunday, and much more. So not only you will get this content once you are targeting the revision batch, you will get more content as well. But this is what you should cover. VIFHE will give you more content other than this one, but I would say ignore the rest of the content and at least focus on this one. Apart from this one, if you want to focus more and if you want to get more, I think my lectures where I've covered the technical articles, those are very important. Okay. Maybe I've already answered the question raised by Sanya, but still we'll talk about it at the end of the stage two. So Sanya and everyone out there, this plan, though today is 6th February, this plan starts from 4th February. Obviously, if somebody is going to join from tomorrow, you need to improvise a little and you need to make few adjustments in relation to the dates. Because VIFHE started the revision course from 4th, that is why my starting date was 4th February. Okay, this plan is divided into 4 structured stages, 4 areas. Stage 1 is from 4th Feb to 6th Feb. Stage 2 is from 7th to 11th. Stage 3 is from 12th to 14th. Stage 4 from 15th to 16th. 17th is a spare day. 18th is more or less it's a spare day as well. So you can always improvise and adjust accordingly. Now, what about stage 1, which is all about syllabus areas A, B, and C? Well, as I mentioned earlier as well, ethics knockout punch 1 and 2. Now you don't have a time to attend 5, 6, 7 hours of lectures where me or anyone as a tutor is teaching you what is confidentiality, what is self-interest. So I can teach ethics for 10 hours, but you don't need it. It's a practical exam. Nobody is going to ask you the definitions or the theories behind it. So ethics knockout punch 1, which covers 3 threads along with the past paper examples. Ethics knockout punch 2, which covers another set of 3 threads. That's it. You are done with ethics. Then attend my lecture on quality management where I've covered ISQM 1, ISQM 2, ISA 220. Live session 1 and 2 is also important. The recordings are available through the LMS. All these would make you prepare for the syllabus areas A, B, and C. Then just 5 questions for Scythia, James, Welford, Thomason, Pickle. That's it. Moving forward towards the stage 2. Drafting techniques in relation to the business risk, in relation to the risk of material misstatement. Then attend the live session 3. Again, you missed the live session, but no problem. You will get the recording. Attend my lectures where I've covered multiple technical articles such as group auditing, ISA for least complex entities, and much more. Then attend substantive procedures, knockout punches 1, 2, 3, and 4. I know as of now on LMS only 1 and 2 are available, but over this weekend 3rd and 4th would be available as well in couple of days time. So attend those 4 lectures on procedures, and then you should attend my lecture on Speedy Style Company, Hart Group, Winberry Company, Hammer Group, Pale, Mercurio, Crux, Encore, Magenta. Now this 14 minus 5, which means 9 questions. You might have access to 14 or 15 questions, but I would say stick to the 9 or maybe 8 or maybe 7, but obviously not less than that, depending upon your availability and your time, how much time you can actually willing to invest. So another 9 questions. Initially, I said 5 questions, so 14. Then, mind you, all these questions are 50 marks each. All these questions have got flavors of business risk, risk of material misstatement, few procedures, mostly ethics. So this is very important. And all of them are mostly recent past paper questions. This is a typing error, not the March-June 2026, March-June 2025. This is March-June 2025. So all of them are latest paper. Pale is from 2021, Mercurius from December 2022, Winberry September 2022, Crux is from the specimen exam, Encore is a very important question, Magenta is a very important question. Then stage 3, which has got 25 mark questions because it is relevant to syllabus area E, from Marlowe's to Wool's. All these questions are available through the LMS and much more, but I've intentionally squeezed the list. All my drafted answers would be available through the master file. And then finally, syllabus area F and G. For the area F and G, it is very important that you attend my lecture where I've covered all the current issues. Yes, there is a lecture where all the current issues have been covered, especially with the help of technical articles. And then for the syllabus area F, questions are super important. Moving forward, oh, by the way, the total number of questions are 30. You have covered the entire syllabus. We will have a grand revision session on 16th or 17th February. We can have a mock exam on 18th. I need at least 1 week, and then I will be able to share the results approximately on 24th or 25th of February. We will have a mock debrief session probably on 25th. Final mock exam would be on 2nd March 2026. This is it. I am done with the stage 2. Now, if you have got any queries whatsoever, you're more than welcome to post it in the chat box. Sir, I was unable to locate live session 1 and 2 for all the areas in LMS. Well, you need to post this query in the discussion group. Either me or any of your class fellow would help you out. Don't worry, this is not a big problem. They will guide you where you have to go. Basically, you have to go to under the section of practice sessions, and you will find the recording over there. Sir, no. Sir, will the grand revision? No. We have got this session, which will be available on YouTube. We have got another session tomorrow that will be available on YouTube. That's it. Then we have another session on Sunday that will not be available on YouTube. We will have another session over the next week that will not be available on YouTube. Then we'll have grand revision, mock debrief, the knockout punches on substantive procedure 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing would be available on YouTube. Sanya, I'll get back to you. Wait a second. Sir, is there any order that we need to attempt the exam paper? Yes, you should follow the sequence which I have mentioned in this plan, and you should follow the sequence available through the VIFHE LMS. Okay, I guess you are asking about, no, I think you should go for the question number 1 followed by 2 and 3. Okay, back to Sania. Sir, I failed at 48 and I did self-study. So confused about my failure. Although I know I practiced at less for section B due to having SBL alongside in December attempt. So confused whether should go for listening to your lectures from start or start practicing without joining any revision course in order to save my time. I think you need to hit the best of the both worlds. Instead of going for self-study again, you got to realize that mock exam is a very important thing. So if you're going to join the revision batch, mock exam is going to be the cherry on the cake. Secondly, why don't you check out the lecture of the past paper question where I've discussed the drafting technique, quickly attend the lecture and then practice the question. So blend both. I would say go for the revision course. No, if there is anyone who joined my regular or the reset batch, you don't have to rejoin for the revision course. You are already covered. You have access to all these lectures. You are eligible for everything. Sir, I have prepared the paper previously, failed at 45. I prepared well, but was not good in drafting section A, which took me 2 hours 15 minutes. Absolutely, you're dead right. If you are investing 2 hours 15 minutes for the question number one, I think that explains everything. So I want to ask a question from both Bruce and Sania. In fact, Sania has already answered this question. So you guys were doing self-study. You solve multiple tests or assignments as a test, as a mid mock? The answer is no. Were those marked? If you did, were those marked? And did you receive a constructive feedback? The answer is no. And finally, last but surely not the least, did you solve a final mock exam before the final exam? And was it marked by an expert person? And did you get a commentary, a feedback? The answers are no. So this makes a huge difference. This actually makes a huge difference. Mock can actually give you a jump of 10 to 15 marks. So please that consider the importance of the mock exam. Okay. Yes, Adil, same goes. So I've got multiple brave-hearted individuals in the chat box, from Adil to Bruce to Sania. Guys, uh, failure is painful. There is no denial in that. And I can't say, and I won't say that, okay, come on, if you fail, it's okay. Okay, go for the next attempt. Try, never surrender. After every September, there is a December. After every December, there is a March. No, I won't say that. Failure is part of the ACCA journey. And failure can make you a better person, a better student, a better human being, provided you can actually learn from your mistake. If somebody has failed a paper once, twice, or thrice, he or she is in a miserable condition, and we need to have all the world's empathy with him or her if the student is unable to figure it out why he or she is failing the paper. So it is really important for you to understand and evaluate and identify why did you fail. And then please don't commit the same mistake again. That is what this is something really important. So all of you needs to understand that failure is important because it can teach you a lot of things. So guys, my final advice to all those failures would be, go and grab the revision course. I will share the link in the chat box after an hour. Yes, Ruben, let's continue. Yes, Bruce, you're absolutely right. You will have my lectures and my drafted answers. Absolutely. Guys, I am done with the stage two. So can I have multiple yes that I should move forward towards the stage three? Okay. Sharif, I will get back to your question at the end of the session. Just post it all over again after an hour or so. Okay. I read it. Okay. Joey, you have to post this question again in the chat box, and you have to post it for everyone, and I will answer this question after an hour. You have to post it again, okay? I read your comment as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be attentive because I'm about to start an extremely important topic, the backbone of AAA. Your question number one, no matter you will be attempting the paper in the morning slot, in the afternoon slot, in the evening slot, no more remote exams. So you're attempting the paper in Asia, Europe, or Africa. One thing is for sure, the question number one will always be set at the planning stage of the audit. Second thing, which is always certain and it's sure, that examiner will ask you to evaluate business risk or evaluate and prioritize risk of material misstatement. So it is super important that we as auditors, we understand that what is a risk-based approach to auditing. Now, risk-based approach to auditing means as an auditor, we got to understand what is risk, and then we need to understand what is business risk, and then we need to understand how business risk feeds or translate into audit risk. And as a manager, we should be smart enough to evaluate business risk and evaluate risk of material misstatement. Now, the next 15 to 20 minutes are super important, and let's talk about the risk. So, what is risk? Is it something pleasant? Is it something we desire? It is something we are craving for? The answer is no. Risk means a possibility. Oh, whether risk is something which is sure shot, not really. So risk means a possibility of something going wrong. And when I say wrong, it means we don't desire it. We are not hoping for it. So for example, if you are a car driver, you may end up having a road accident. So as a car driver, even if you are well trained, licensed, I hope, still you always face a risk of an accident. Maybe because of your mistake, or maybe because of someone else's mistake, or maybe because of certain component being malfunctioned. You never know. So there is a risk of an accident faced by a car driver. And similarly, Joey, being the stock market investor, he is facing a risk of investing in the wrong stocks. His financials could be drained. So he's facing the risk of a financial loss. And we as a student, considering the fact we have decided not to go for the course, we have decided that we will not attempt the mock exam, we have decided that we will just rely on reading the questions and reading the answers. We will not type anything. We have decided we will not attend the lectures, and we will be making a lot of compromises, and we will not cut down the social activities over the next 20 days. And we are willing to make all kinds of compromises. And as a result of that, you as a student, you are facing a risk of failing the exam. Can you overcome that risk? Yes, you can. There are certain risks which needs to be avoided, but there are certain risks which needs to be mitigated to an acceptable level. So yes, if you are going to work harder, you can actually mitigate the risk. You have got options. You should target the mock exam. You should attend the lectures. You should follow a structured, planned approach. You should consider joining any course, any disciplined course. Now, what about the auditor? Let's talk about the auditor. Let's shift the focus towards the AAA exam. Who are you? You're an auditor. What are you supposed to do? You will be hired by the members of the company. So you will be acting as an agent. Agent? Then who's the what do they call management? Management is also an agent of the members of the company. You as an auditor, you will be acting as an agent as well. So the first agent, the members of the company, they would prepare the financial statements and they would claim that the financial statements are reflecting a true and fair view. They would claim that the financial statements are appropriately valued, properly classified, all the assets do exist. So they will claim a lot of things. But at the same time, there are certain there are certain incidents which create a trust issue, and as a result of that, we need another agent in your form, another agent, auditor. So an auditor would come up with an independent examination of the financial statements, and as an auditor you have to express your independent opinion, an opinion on the financial statements. You have to express whether the financial statements are reflecting a true and fair view or not. So this is what an auditor has to do. But are you facing a risk? Not as a car driver, not as a stock market investor, not as a student, as an auditor. Are you facing a risk? You have been hired so that you could express an opinion on the subject matter. What's the subject matter? The financial statements. So, are you facing a risk? Yes, the auditor is also facing a risk that what if auditor expresses wrong audit opinion? Now, when I say wrong audit opinion, it means, in simple words, what if an auditor comes up and says in the audit report that yes, financial statements are reflecting a true and fair view? And what if financial statements are not reflecting a true and fair view? What if there are material misstatements in the financial statements? What if there are material and pervasive misstatements in the financial statements? And what if, as an auditor, you missed them intentionally or otherwise? So if you did not spot the material misstatements in the financial statements and you expressed that financial statements are reflecting a true and fair view, which is not the case, well, boy, you have expressed an incorrect audit opinion. And as an auditor, whether you are working in KPMG, EY, or whatever, all auditors around the globe, they face this risk, which is called audit risk. Audit risk means an auditor might express an incorrect opinion on the financial statements. Now, this audit risk has got two components or two reasons. The first component is a client specific component. When I say client specific, it means this component has got nothing to do with the auditor. As an auditor, I cannot reduce risk of material misstatement. This is very important. Please understand. As an auditor, yes, I will evaluate, I will identify, and I will evaluate risk of material misstatement. And after identifying and evaluating risk of material misstatement, I will adjust my detection risk. So I can control detection risk. I cannot control risk of material misstatement. Both of these are the components of audit risk. Now, the risk of material misstatement means that the financial statements could be materially misstated. And the detection risk means, as an auditor, I might not detect the material misstatement. So imagine, for example, if a set of financial statements are absolutely flawless, 100% flawless, it means the risk of material misstatement is 0%. So automatically detection risk is not relevant. Once risk of material misstatement is zero, automatically audit risk is zero. Why would you express incorrect opinion when the financial statements do not have any misstatement whatsoever? Similarly, imagine you are one of the world's best auditor ever, multiplied by 10 of you, multiplied by the superpowers of Avengers. So if you could reduce the detection risk to 0%, why would you express an incorrect opinion? So practically speaking, never ever the risk of material misstatement is zero. Never ever we can reduce the detection risk to zero because we work on a sample basis. That is why audit risk is something which is faced by the auditors all around the globe. Now, what is risk of material misstatement? The possibility that the financial statements could be materially misstated. What is detection risk? That even after applying procedures, there is a possibility that auditor might miss out something, auditor might apply incorrect procedure, auditor might neglect something, so auditor could be failed. Now, why risk of material misstatement exists or when does it exist? Well, before the audit, when detection risk exists after the audit. So it means as an auditor, I've not applied any procedure. Risk of material misstatement is there. I've applied my procedure, but there is a possibility I missed out something. So detection risk is there. So before the audit and after the audit, risk of material misstatement has got to do with the client because they prepared the financial statements. Detection risk has got to do with the auditor because I apply the procedures. What about marking scheme? Let's go towards the marking scheme. Let's not invest more time with respect to the technical terms or the concepts. Well, generally speaking, up to 3 marks are available for a risk of material misstatement. Yes, there are exceptions, sometimes two only, sometimes four is an option as well. But generally speaking, up to 3 marks are available per point. For detection risk, up to 2 marks are available per point. Okay, let me give you an example. Imagine the client has not followed the accounting standards properly, or their controls are poor, which can lead to frauds and error. As a result of that, financial statements would become materially misstated. Similarly, if a client is a new audit client, or if there are extraordinary time pressure on the audit firm, or if my client has utilized the services of a third party, all these create an example of detection risk. What about the drafting technique for the risk of material misstatement? And this is where you have to concentrate because I'm heading towards the third and the final part of this stage. So please concentrate. We will identify the risk of material misstatement from the question paper. And we are absolutely allowed and in fact encouraged to use the copy paste technique wherever it is possible. So we will identify the risk of material misstatement from the question paper. Then we must develop the point. Now, when I say develop the point, you have to keep in mind what you have to develop. You have identified risk of material misstatement. So how would you develop the point? Step number one, briefly discuss what the accounting standard says about it. What's the accounting rule? Then briefly discuss why you think that client's accounting treatment could be wrong or why you think that the client's accounting treatment is wrong. So basically, you have to express your skeptic attitude and you have to discuss the possibility of incorrect accounting treatment. Why is there a risk? Last but surely not the least, you have to end your answer by highlighting that because of the risk which you identified from the question paper and because of the accounting standard and because of there is a risk, ultimately which financial statement items would have an impact. So the impact is where you will close your answer. So let me give you an example. For example, if a question says, well, a bunch of inventory got damaged because of the flood before the year end. So this is a piece of information which you might copy from the question paper itself. Now I'm going towards the development part. According to IEAS 2, inventory should be valued at lower of cost or NRV. That's it. Why is there a risk? There is a risk that management might not wish to write off the damaged inventory. There is a risk that the damaged inventory might not be in a sellable condition. there is a risk that the damaged inventories NRV could be below the cost and inventory needs to be written off. Last but surely not the least, if not corrected or if the adjustments are not performed by the management, the year-end inventory would be overstated and the profit would be overstated as well if they have not charged the relevant inventory as an expense in the profit or loss account. Guys, trust me on that. Risk of material misstatement is not difficult. The maximum difficulty level, I've just explained the maximum difficulty level. These steps will help you not only score all the technical marks, but slowly but surely, with the help of my lectures, the drafting techniques, all those lectures, the top 10 full 50-mark questions, you will start realizing how to score professional skills marks as well. Maybe you will realize that there is a pressure on management to show off certain ratios, or maybe there is a pressure from a competitor, or maybe a bank loan is due to be, the negotiations are under the pipelines. So you can add something that there is an incentive on the management, there is a risk of management bias. So you can always score a professional skill mark here or there. That's it. Are you all clear for the drafting technique in relation to the risk of material misstatement, especially with the example of inventory, dam, flood, and all that? Can I have multiple yes on that? Oof, I've uh, okay, I've got multiple yes. Let me quickly answer a few questions. But in fact, that will break the momentum. I will check out the chat box at the end of the stage. So as of now, everyone is absolutely clear with respect to the drafting technique. Maria and everyone, Faiz, I will answer your queries. Don't worry. Okay, what about the drafting technique for the detection risk? Now, many students, they would ask me that is there a huge difference when it comes to the detection risk? Listen, listen, listen. First of all, there are thousands of examples when it comes to risk of material misstatement. But there are hardly 4 to 5 examples when it comes to detection risk. So that's a first sigh of relief. New client, time pressure, your client has utilized the services of a third party, and a couple of more. I will share one-page notes for that. Secondly, when you will be having a discussion on detection risk, first of all, you will not discuss a particular accounting standard, because when we are discussing detection risk, we are not talking about the risk of a non-compliance with a particular accounting standard. We are talking about the auditor. Now the focus and the limelight is on the auditor. Risk of material misstatement means the client might have not followed the standard. Which standard? So you have to mention the standard and you have to answer your question and end your answer with an impact on financial statement items. This is not the case when it comes to detection risk. So in detection risk, you will pick up the information from the question and you have to explain that why you as an auditor might not get the desired evidence. That's it. Identify the issue from the question paper, develop why there is a risk, maybe because of the time pressure, maybe because of your lack of familiarity with the accounting system. You know, you don't have to write about an accounting standard, you don't have to highlight a particular financial statement item. That's it. This is what your detection risk is. Forget about the coloring scheme as of now. Let's move forward. Okay. Okay. Now, guys, you have to concentrate. This is something very, very important. I have skipped few parts because the detailed lecture is available through the LMS and I'm heading towards something really, really important and super cool. So please concentrate. This is very important. The next 5 minutes. Okay, so the next 5 minutes are super important. Guys, when you will attempt your triple A final mock exam, and I always say assignments, also known as the tests, they make you prepare for the final mock exam. And Sanya and everyone out there, Bruce and everyone, the final mock exam will make you pass the final exam. Let me repeat it quickly. All those assignments and tests, all those little efforts, frequently, they make you prepare for the mock exam. And the mock exam will make you pass the final exam. So, anyone out there who is not fully determined and committed towards the mock exam, please realize mock exam can make you pass the final exam comprehensively. When I say comprehensively, it means in flying colors with all the confidence, and you are going to enjoy your exam day. Now, when you will attempt your final mock exam, or for that matter, when you will attempt your final ACCA exam, you will face most probably this exam requirement on your screen right now. Examiner would ask you evaluate and prioritize the significant risk of material misstatement to be considered in planning the audit. Evaluate and prioritize the significant risk of material misstatement to be considered in planning the audit. Now, out of these 18 marks, 3 marks are relevant to materiality. That leaves you with 15 marks. And if you divide 15 with 3, you need 5 points or maybe 6 points. That's it. So out of those 18 marks, 3 marks are relevant to materiality. Let me quickly address how can you score those 3 marks, 3 technical marks in relation to materiality. In the exhibit number 1 of your question number 1, your partner, your examiner, your engagement partner would categorically mention that the partner wants you, the audit manager, to use either profitability or revenue or assets for the sake of calculating materiality. So once you will calculate the lower threshold and the higher threshold according to the criteria defined by the partner, you will score 1 mark. So you will score 1 mark once you will calculate and show off the lower threshold and the higher threshold in relation to materiality. Okay, so 1 down, 2 to go. Now, we, the students, we can score second technical mark out of the 18 marks we have in relation to materiality if we are going to provide a solid justification against the chosen materiality level. So out of the lower and the higher threshold, this is a range. So for example, your lower threshold is 2 million and your higher threshold is 4 million. So as a student, you can choose 2 million, you can choose 4 million, and you can choose somewhere in between the two, for example, 3 million. Whatever you are going to choose, examiner will not give you any credit for that. Examiner will give you 1 mark if you will provide a brief but an appropriate justification against whatever you are going to choose. So it means there is a huge possibility that on the final exam day, for example, Aisha chose 2 million and she would end up scoring the 1 mark because she gave a proper justification, and maybe Eamon choose 4 million and still she will also score the 1 mark because she gave proper justification, and maybe Adil or Muiz, they chose somewhere in between the two, neither 2 million nor 4 million. They might choose 3 million, which is somewhere in between the two, and they can actually score the mark as well because Examiner is not looking for a particular number. There is no mark for a particular number. There is no correct answer, or should I say, there is no one correct answer. According to the examiner reports, according to the AAA examiner, second technical mark in relation to the materiality would be awarded to the candidate, provided the candidate comes up with a proper justification for the threshold the candidate has chosen. That's your second mark. So first mark, when you calculate the lower and higher threshold of materiality, and you have to show it off in the form of sentence. Obviously, you don't need to show off the calculation. You have to show off the numbers. Second mark, when you will choose a number and you will provide justification against your choice. Generally speaking, if it is a new client, we always go for the lower threshold. If it is a new client, or maybe if it's a recurring client but looking for the stock exchange listing, we go for the lower threshold. If it is a recurring audit client with no major changes, we can always go for a higher threshold. If you are confused, we have realized that there are certain unusual risks, but at the same time, it is not a listed company. At the same time, it's a recurring audit client. We can always choose somewhere in between the two. So it's all about your writing skills, and it's all about providing a proper justification. The third and the final mark in relation to the materiality can be scored by the student, provided the student is going to use, or should I say, utilize the chosen materiality level while drafting the risk of material misstatement answer. So, for example, in this question, I believe you will be discussing 4 to 5 risks. So maybe on 1 or 2 occasions, you can actually use and apply the chosen materiality level. If you will do that, you will score your third and the final mark in relation to the materiality. So guys, let's continue with this belief that all of us are absolutely crystal clear with respect to the 3 marks, 3 technical marks in relation to materiality. Let's move forward. Okay, let's check this out. Using the information, evaluate and prioritize the significant audit risk to be considered in planning the group audit. Guys, is it same, or is there any difference between the first and the second exam requirement? On your screen, there are 2 exam requirements. Both of them are absolutely same, or is there any difference? Well done, Sania, and well done, Sibga. You guys are absolutely correct. The first one is all about ROMM, but in the second one, as the question says, audit risk, so which means yes, the focus would be heavily on ROMM, but at the same time, we can actually write about the detection risk as well. So yes, those who did not figure it out, please realize the first exam requirement is evaluate and prioritize significant risk of material misstatement, and the second exam requirement is evaluate and prioritize audit risk, which means not only you are allowed to write about ROMM, you are actually allowed to write about detection risk as well. Can I have multiple yes on that? Are we all clear? The difference between the first and the second requirement? I need multiple yes because I need to show off something else now. Thank you, Zoha. Okay, thank you, everyone. That's great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's great. Okay, now what? What about this one? What is this? Approximately 2 or 2.5 years ago, historically, okay, let's talk about early 2010, 11, 12, 13, 2015-ish, late 2017, 18, 19. Even if we talk about COVID times, even if we talk about post-COVID 21, 22, 23, this was something which examiner never ever tested. Examiner used to come up with either one or two, either one or two. 90% occasions, this exam requirement 1. Sometimes exam requirement 2, which includes detection risk. Never ever this third exam requirement. This is something which examiner started to test over the last couple of years. And I call it a new style question. But that new style has got to do with the ROMM. So I call it new style risk of material misstatement question. Now, please check the difference, or let's figure it out. What is the difference? The new style question says, as an audit manager, justify why the following issues have been identified as a significant risk of material misstatement. Now read the first exam requirement. Evaluate and prioritize using the information in Exhibit 1, 2, and 3. Evaluate and prioritize significant risk of material misstatement at the planning stage of the audit. So what is the difference between the exam requirement number 1 and the exam requirement number 3? Let's eliminate exam requirement 2. Let's eliminate detection risk. The focus is on ROMM. So what is the difference between exam requirement number 1, where I have to evaluate and prioritize risk of material misstatement, but which one? For that, I have to read the exhibits. Now, what about the third exam requirement? Still, I have to evaluate and prioritize risk of material misstatement. To be honest, you don't have to prioritize that in this case, but the chemistry remains the same. You have to justify why these are significant risk of material misstatements. So guys, this new style of exam requirement is 99.99% the same. The difference is, in the first style of question, we used to pick up significant risk of material misstatement from the information available in the question. Maybe information provides us with 5 significant risk of material misstatement, but in order to score full marks, I just need 3, so I will skip 2. But for this particular question, which is the new style question, I have to talk about operating licenses. If there is certain information in relation to inventory or receivable, I will skip it. I have to talk about operating licenses. I have to talk about operating segments. I have to talk about oil and gas extraction platform. So I have to stick with these 3. That makes your life, it's a judgmental call. It makes your life easier, because now you don't have to choose. The choice has already been made, but that makes your case slightly complicated as well. Maybe you're not comfortable with operating segment. Maybe you don't know a thing about IFRS 8. So that makes your life complicated as well. That eliminates your choices, because now you don't have to identify, because the identification has already been made by the partner or the examiner in the question. But at the same time, that makes your question easier as well. But the good news is, the best news is, the drafting technique which I taught you 15 minutes ago for the risk of material misstatement, that drafting technique would remain the same for the new style ROMM as well. We will briefly identify the story in relation to the operating segment from the question paper. We will discuss what the standard says, why there is a risk, and lastly, the impact on the financial statement items. So the steps, the writing method, the answering technique, according to me, is exactly the same. So you don't have to worry. The only difference is, examiner has not allowed you to pick up certain ROMM from the question. Rather, examiner has categorically mentioned, I need operating segment, I need operating license, I need oil and gas extraction platforms. And at the same time, examiner will not ask you to prioritize. Maybe examiner can. So is this clear to everyone? The third and the new style ROMM. Can I have multiple yes on that? Okay, that's great. Yes, yes, yes. That's great. Lovely. Okay then. Okay, before I conclude this stage and I move towards a past paper question, I quickly want to have a discussion on business risk as well. Now, remember I told you risk means possibility of something going wrong. A car driver is facing risk of an accident. An investor is facing risk of a financial loss. A student is facing risk of failing the exam because he or she is not going to rely on the mock exam, on the lectures, not going to rely on the typing itself, rather just going to rely on reading and reading and reading. What about the business? What about the company? What about a listed company? What about an unlisted private company? What about a business? So, if your client is engaged in certain business activities, the client or the company is also facing a risk. Audit risk is the risk faced by the auditor. Business risk is the risk faced by the business. Now, what do I mean by business risk? Business risk means certain events could happen in the future, in the near future, that could have an impact in the future, or that could lead to a situation in the future, or maybe something has already happened but the implications would come up in the future. Always talk about the future, and as a result of that, the company's future sales could go down significantly. The company's cost could shoot up dramatically. The company's profit could go down significantly. The company's operational issues could get worse. The company's reputation could go, it could be drained. The company could face financial, non financial, internal, external, economical, political, any kind of issues which can create problems for the company, and as a result of those problems, maybe company might not deliver its goals and objectives. Company might not fulfill its goals and objectives. Company might not be in a position to achieve their goals and targets. So, what is business risk? A possibility of an unfavorable event. Anything could happen. A new government law, new policy, new economic conditions, a catastrophic event, a flood or something, a change in technology, you never know, a pandemic, you never know, which could result or which could create question marks over the company's operations, profitability, and sustainability. Mind you, my vision, my thoughts are future oriented. So something could go wrong, and as a result of that, there could be question marks over the company's future. Now, we all remember there are 3 marks typically for a risk of material misstatement, but there are 2 marks for business risk, excluding any calculation. With the help of certain calculation, you can earn an extra half mark. But typically speaking, up to 2 marks are available per business risk. So if my client is relying on one single supplier, and what if that supplier goes to bankruptcy all of a sudden? So the company's future production and the streamlines and there will be question marks over whether the company's operations would be streamlined or not. So if they are relying on a single supplier, if they are going for an international expansion in an unfamiliar territory, you never know. Similarly, if there is a cyber security attack, and if a company is heavily relying on e-commerce, you never know. So what about the drafting technique for a business risk answer? Always identify the issue from the question paper. Then you have to explain that how this particular issue could create financial, non-financial, operational, strategic, cash flow related problems for the company. then in order to score full marks, you should add one more point, maybe another angle, another negative consequence of that business risk, maybe some other information available in the question that gives strength to your argument. So, in order to develop a business risk, one has to make sure that once you have discussed one possible negative consequence, try and add some more depth to your answer by making maybe by making the best use of the information available in the question, or by having another angle or another possibility or another consequence of the same business risk. Okay, so that's it. I am going to stop over here and let me quickly check out the chat box. Let's check out the chat box now. How will we divide marks for this type of question? For what? For the examiner will give you the details. Examiner will give you the details, at least for the total marks, and then you can always sort it out or divide it into different portions. Yes, examiner will at least give you the total marks. Okay. Any other question? Sir, how to improve our professional English? Well, the recipe is not that complicated. The best approach is to reproduce certain answers again and again. Maria, let me tell you something. If you will prepare, for example, my top 30 lectures along with my top 30 drafted answers, and if you could do it twice or thrice, I'm not talking about the rote learning all alone. I'm talking about with concepts, with the clarity of concepts. If you would practice a bunch of questions again and again, including the typing, don't you think that during your final mock exam or the final exam itself, there will be a lot of chunks which would be repetitive? Don't you think even if you will encounter something brand new, the steps or the technique can be applied to the same as well? So it's all about hard work, and it's all about picking up a certain chunk of questions and then practicing them again and again so that you don't miss anything if there is anything relevant to it. And Sania, sir, ROMM includes inherent risk and control risk. And in inherent risk, we learn that it is due to complexity, uncertainty, change, management bias, subjectivity. Yes, this is all correct. How we can incorporate them in developing the point, and what is major difference between subjectivity and uncertainty? Sania, this is all from your double A. In AAA, examiner will not be looking forward to such complex terms, and you don't have to define them or divide them into uncertainty, change, subjectivity, complexity, bias. You don't need all that. To be very honest, you don't need all that. Uncertain is something where we are not sure what will happen in the future. Subjectivity is something where you can have a different point of view and I can have a different point of view. So we call it a subjective matter. Both of us can be correct. Sir, is there only master file available, or there are also separate notes of each topic in the revision batch other than the master file, because master file has short form? No, master file is basically about the drafted question and answers. It's master file's main objective is not to entertain with notes. Yes, there will be very important notes in the master file, such as for procedures, for technical articles, but basically master file never claims that it is a replacement of book, or master file is all about notes for each and every chapter. No, master file is about drafting technique and the past paper answers. Yes, I can proudly say that many AAA and AA students, those who tend to secure big in their final exams, they replace their exam kit with the master file. Are you getting the point now? Is this clear? Sir, what if I'm not able to solve all the questions which you have shared by the mock date? Shall I still attempt the mock? What will it not demotivate me before the exam? Again, that is not an uncertain thing, that is a subjective matter. You can have a different point of view, I can have a different one. Well, in that case, if you're a working professional, I would say, okay, you can cut down from 9, instead of 9, go for 7, instead of 14, go for 10. So somehow you can come up with top 20 instead of top 30. So this is my answer. Sir, which question I should start with in exam? From question number one. If you want to start not from the question number one, that's a huge call and that requires practice. In that case, I would say go for the question number two or three, whichever is based on syllabus area E. But I'm not encouraging this strategy. My safe option would be question number one and 100 minutes for the question number one. Okay, I've got a question from Darshani. Practicing meaning retype your answer or answer the question in your own words and then use your answer to mark it. No. If you have got the luxury of time, type the same question thrice. Once with the help of my drafted answer, exactly like mine. On the second occasion, maybe on your own. And third time, again with the help of my drafted answer. As a result of this approach, you will see that once you have covered 5 questions, sixth question will not take that much of time. You will be your confidence, your language, your English, your words, your approach, your steps, everything will start to improve dramatically. Any question which I have missed? Thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome. Any question which I have missed? If I have got weak English, if I struggle with the theoretical subjects, if English is not my first language and it's creating nightmares for me, well, in that case, I will type the answer first. Well, first of all, I will attend the lecture, then I will type the answer exactly the way I have typed in my drafted answer, and I will do the same on the second occasion as well. Maybe I will do the same on the third occasion as well. Maybe on the fourth occasion, I will try the same question on my own. Sir, the conclusion should be mentioned after the business and audit risk, or should we do other parts also and then conclusion? No, you should write the conclusion paragraph once you are done with the risk. When I say risk, it means both risk of material misstatement and business risk, or maybe both business risk and audit risk. In the conclusion paragraph, I repeat, in the conclusion paragraph, you should try and conclude both the business risk and the risk of material misstatement. That will score a professional mark. But on top of that, in the conclusion paragraph, try and prioritize one or two significant risk of material misstatement, which you want to prioritize. That will score a mark. And try to provide a justification, a reason why you believe that this particular risk of material misstatement which you have prioritized, why it is a significant one. Maybe with the help of its magnitude, maybe with the help of its likelihood, maybe with the help of its impact. So once you use the conclusion paragraph appropriately, you can actually score 2, 3 marks alone with the help of the conclusion paragraph. So just like the 3 marks in relation to the materiality are super important, I truly believe conclusion paragraph is also very, very important. Thank you, sir, for answering the questions. Sir, are you going to available for your registered student only? No, I'm very much available in the free global WhatsApp groups as well. Is there anyone who's in the who's in the session right now and who's not a registered student currently, but he or she knows me through the global group? Am I available over there? Am I active? Can you please answer this? Okay, another question. Will there be a designated WhatsApp group for the revision batch? Not really, but there will be two WhatsApp groups for you if you are going to join the batch, anyone who's going to join the revision batch. But we are not going to create a separate group, WhatsApp group for the revision batch students. We used to create it, but that creates a lot of problems. So, no, 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 no. What is the importance of Excel file provided by ACCA in the exam platform? Actually, for all the professional papers, there is a possibility that you might have to, perform certain calculations. That is why the Excel file is important. But to be very honest, for the AAA exam, that does not create a lot of problem, or that does not plays a very bigger role. Ruben, is there any reason why you keep skipping my question? Is there any other question which I've skipped? Okay, thank you very much for saying very active, and thank you very much. I'm part of the global group, and Sir is very active. So yes, back to Sania, I believe, if I'm not wrong, Sania, if you cannot join the revision batch, it's all right. You can still you should still join the global group, and as a result of that, you will receive a lot of important things from my side. Because to be very honest, whenever I send some important information in for my registered student, I always send that information in the global groups as well. I work in an audit firm, and as you know, this is audit season, and I do not have sufficient time to study. What should I do? Should I listen to the lectures on the platform, read the master file, or do something else? You have to definitely you should join the revision batch. Go on, attend the lecture on a particular past paper question that includes the drafting technique. Attend the lecture first. Then, with the help of my drafted answer, type the answer. So, if you cannot type it for thrice, at least type it once and then move towards the next question. So, you need to the point limited content, and revision batch is ideal for you considering the fact it is the busiest time of the year. Sania, sir, I'm also part of that global group, and I know you're very active, but some queries used to be missed. That's why you can tag me. Well, you can DM me in that case. If there is a voice note that kills me, honestly speaking. Imagine I receive 128 or 69 or 30, well, not exactly 30, 75 voice notes from different individuals in a day. Now it's really difficult to concentrate and listen to a voice note. That is where I struggle. I'm being honest right now. But if it's a text message, I can read it on the go. I'm sitting around four people, maybe in a restaurant, and still I'm always on the go. I'm always reading the text and I'm always replying. With voice notes, you have to listen, you have to go. Voice notes are really challenging. Sometimes I receive voice notes. The voice note goes something like, "Sir, hello, sir. Hope you are doing well. Sir, I was wondering and I wanted to ask, uh, is this possible that I can skip this question and then what if I come up with this? But I know you will not agree. So there is a very, you know, there is a story. There are breaks, there are pauses, there are deep sigh of reliefs. So the voice notes, and I feel like, first of all, I am 100% grateful, forever indebted for the guy who created 2x. I know all of you also attend the lectures on 2x, but sometimes I feel like, okay, now there is a problem. If I try to increase the speed of that voice note, sometimes, guys, my first language is not English either. So I'm not from the Shakespeare family. So if I increase the speed of the voice note, it's a problem. If I slow down the speed of the voice note, it's a problem. So that is why I always say no voice notes unless it's the last resort. Okay. how come I use the ACCA practice platform to perform past papers and there is no auto marking? It is asking me to mark myself. So, what is the importance of that platform other than familiarizing myself with the environment? Well, I think you have already answered the question. To be very honest, if you want that ACCA's practice platform to mark your script, provide you with the constructive feedback, that's not going to happen. Even if you will rely on certain AI, that will not give you consistent or clear answers. So why would I encourage all of you, including Rubin, to go and use ACCA practice platform? I think you already know the answer, and in fact, you have already shared it within your question that it will give you a lot of clarity and confidence and familiarity with the practice platform, which is a beneficial thing. How do you find the answers for the past papers, ACCA practice platform for CBE? Once you submit your answer, there is an option. Mm, uh, okay, I think as of now, the last question before I head towards the next stage where I need to discuss a question which I gave to my students as an assignment from the March-June 2024. And the question is from Hasib. And Hasib is saying, are substantive procedures fall under syllabus area F? Great question, Hasib. So, guys, when you will attempt your final exam, the first question, which is set at the planning stage of the audit, a full 50-mark question, most likely you will face six, minimum five, maximum seven, eight. So, on an average, 6 to 7 marks relevant to procedures. Similarly, when you will head towards the section B of your exam, one of the question will be exclusively focused on syllabus area E. And within the syllabus area E, you might, within the syllabus area E, examiner will not ask you to write procedures, but you might have to look for the evidence within the audit file. Now, the evidence is 90% similar to procedure. It does not have an action, but the objective and the rest of the sentence is same. Moving forward towards the other question of the section B of your exam, you might face a question on forensic audit, such as retrieval. You might face a question on sustainability, such as oak. You might face a question on prospective financial information, such as cobalt. You might face a question on advertising, such as Sanzio. So, whatever question you are going to face, examiner might ask you to apply procedures. So, those procedures are obviously same. It's just that it's when we say substantive procedures, we think of the financial statements, but maybe the procedures are for the due diligence assignment, maybe the procedures are for forensic. So, it's more or less the same thing. So, my point of view is what I'm trying to say is that procedures are all over the place. So they are not restricted to syllabus area F only. They are part of the syllabus area D as well, where you have to plan the audit and collect the evidence. They are indirectly part of the syllabus area E as well, and they are directly part of the syllabus area F as well. So I would say for syllabus area A, which is about regulatory environment, no procedures involved. Syllabus area B, ethical issues, no procedures involved. Syllabus area C, quality management and practice management, tendering, advertising, and all that, no procedures involved. For D, procedures are heavily involved. E, procedures are indirectly involved. F, procedures are heavily involved. G, current issues, procedures are not relevant. So procedures are super important, and that is why in this session, I will be sharing two more knockout punches on substantive procedures. Two knockout punches are already available on the LMS regarding the procedures, but tomorrow or day after tomorrow, two more lectures would be available through the LMS. How do you find answers for past papers on the ACCA practice platform for CBE? Well, first of all, each and every question which is available on the ACCA practice platform is also available in my master file. Secondly, once you are done, once you submit your answer, there is an option and you can always download the PDF of the solution. You can't get the PDF of the question paper, but you can get the PDF of the answer. I will share the steps in the in the chat box or in the group. Don't worry. But let me tell you, you can't get the question paper. That is why I am not exactly I was not exactly answering your question. You can't download the question paper. Okay, guys, I think we are done with this stage and we should move forward towards the next stage, which is about the question which I need to discuss. So let's start the show. Give me one more second. Can you please tell important technical articles? Well, I will share top 15 technical articles in the announcement group and in the global WhatsApp groups. Secondly, if you will cover my top 30 questions, you will automatically cover all the important technical articles. This is a given. So don't worry. I will share my top 15 technical articles in the announcement group. Don't worry. I've got a question. Most welcome, Sania. Audit risk requires us to do both ROMM and detection risk. Absolutely. But having said that, there is going to be one or two detection risk. Most likely one only. Still, the question would be heavily focused on ROMM. Is this clear, Junera? Okay. Okay, guys. Yes, Rohel, but it will take some time. Yes, Rohel. That's great. That's great. Guys, let's move towards the final part of the today's session. March, June 2024. ACCA's official past paper. Question number one, Magenta Company. Question number two, a very, very, very important question, surely part of my top 30. It's called Pickle Company, which has got a lot to do with ethics. Question number three, Cuckoo Group or Cuckoo Company rather. Yeah, Cuckoo Company. And that Cuckoo Company is primarily or heavily, well, exclusive question on syllabus area E, completion, review and reporting. As you all know, one of the question within the section B of your exam will be exclusively focused on syllabus area E. So Magenta, Pickle and Cuckoo. That is what your March, June 2024 is. Okay. Now, what about Magenta Group? Magenta Group. It is 1st July 20x5. No surprise. According to a technical article, the date for your exam will always be 1st July 20x5 in all three questions. Who are you for the first question? You are a manager. Congratulations. In the audit department of Plum and Company, and it's a firm of chartered certified accountants, and you are responsible for the audit of Magenta Group, and it's a listed entity, and it has a year ending 30th September 20x5. So after 3 months, it means you're at the planning stage of the audit. You have to evaluate risk. Now, this group operates in the oil and gas sector. Okay, a sector which is a highly regulatory sector. It has a lot of environmental sustainability related issues, a lot of question marks on their green policies, and much more. Your firm is responsible for the audit of the group consolidated financial statements and the individual financial statements of all the group companies. So, okay, so not only you are the group auditor, you also audit all other components as well. When I say component within in the context of group auditing, component means a subsidiary, an individual company. So you audit all the components. So the following exhibits available. Okay, now let's go for the exhibits. We have got 4 exhibits. No surprise whatsoever, the first exhibit is always from the partner, an email which you will receive as an audit manager. Okay, and the first exhibit will tell you which criteria you need to use for materiality. The first exhibit will tell you multiple exam requirements and the breakdown and the split of the marks. And the first exhibit can be used to create your introductory paragraph. Okay. Second exhibit is about the background information about the group's operations and activities, which will tell you a lot about probably business risk. The third exhibit is meeting notes between the group finance director and the engagement partner. The the fourth exhibit seems to be an interesting one. It's an email from the group audit committee, and well, to be precise, it's an email from the chairman of the committee, which the partner has received. I don't know, maybe they are asking for some non-audit services, which might create an ethical issue. I don't know. No, let's see. Okay, so let's go for the first exhibit. So you are the audit manager, your partner has sent you an email. The subject is audit planning for the Magenta Group. Don't change the subject. Don't even change the date. Just swap audit manager with violet purple group audit engagement partner. So that is your structure of the briefing notes. What about the introductory paragraph? Well, I always say to my AAA students, don't you believe that 90% people, they actually follow the philosophy and the ideology of first impression is the last impression? It is true. Yes, you can always turn around the tables. There is a possibility my first impression was inappropriate, but in the longer run, with the passage of time, in the ups and downs of the life, I might turn around the table and I might change your perception about myself. But to be very honest, it is really difficult to turn around the tables. And that is why they say first impression is the last impression. Why do they say this? Because let me improvise. Actually, the first impression is a lasting one. So it takes a lot to change that. Now, the same ideology and same philosophy I apply when it comes to AAA scripts. When I would open up your AAA script, imagine you have attempted a mock exam and I am marking it. Trust me on that when I say this, within the first 5 minutes or less than that, sometimes within the first 2-3 minutes, maximum within the first 5 minutes, I will figure it out. I'm not saying I will only do this. No, but I will have an intuition, or I will have an idea, or I will have indicators that this student will pass and this student will not. On 90% occasions, that intuition, that estimate, those indicators, they are dead right. So what I'm trying to say is that let me explain my philosophy in simple words. Imagine I am having, give me a second. Okay, imagine I have 100 scripts in front of me. Imagine all those 100 students, imagine they were all registered students. Assume they all actually submitted more or less all of the assignments, they were disciplined, they were motivated, and whatnot. Now, I will invest only 3 to 4 minutes per script. Surely within the 3 to 5 minutes, I cannot even mark ten mark paper, let alone 100 mark paper. I will invest 5 minutes and then I will choose a side, pass or fail. Then I will invest 5 minutes and then I will choose a side, pass or fail. I will, after investing 5 minutes per paper, just remember first impression is the lasting one. It's the usually the last impression. I imagine I've split the scripts into two categories, pass or fail. 90% of the failures, which I call them failures, 90% of them will actually fail. And the students which I said will pass, 80 to 90% of them, 75, 80, 85% of them, a significant, a majority of them, let's call it 80% of them will actually pass. So what's that? Do I have some, some secret recipe, or within the next 5 minutes, do I have some formula through which I calculate or conclude, or am I some alien or some what's that? No, it's nothing fancy, nothing special, nothing extraordinary. Uh, I can teach you that art as well, and you can pick up that these candidates are going to pass and these are going to fail. It's just that in the first 4 to 5 minutes, and even less than that, in the first 2 to 3 minutes, once you start reading the script of a particular candidate, mind you, it is important that you have fully prepared that script, that answer as a marker. It is important for you. So imagine you are marking a paper, let's call it March, June 2024, Magenta, Pickle, and Cuckoo. So you have read all the examiner reports, the marking scheme, you have drafted your answer, you're all ready, you're ready, fully ready. Now, within the first 3 to 5 minutes, you will realize that the student's introductory paragraph is a pathetic one. You will realize that the materiality and the justification is not well constructed. You will realize that the first business risk is fully, it's all over the place. So within the first 5 minutes, especially with the help of the briefing note format and the introductory paragraph and the materiality paragraph and the justification paragraph, and even by the looks, no, I have not I'm not going deep into the business risk part or the risk of material misstatement part. At the surface level of it, by the looks of it, I will get to know whether this is a very dedicated, hardworking student or someone who used to rely on tricks and hacks and shortcuts, or someone who used to make compromises. So within the first 5 minutes, to be very honest, I will get to know that this student deserves to pass and this student deserves to fail. What I am trying to say is that if you want to raise your confidence and if you want to create a positive, lasting impression on the marker, please make sure you are going to pay respect. In fact, you should pay huge respect to little things. Huge respect to little things, such as the introductory paragraph, to from date the briefing note structure, followed up by maybe business risk, maybe materiality and the justification paragraph. Give huge respect to that little conclusion paragraph. These little things, which are spread across the entire 100 mark paper, they will make you stand out. They will give you an extra 10 marks Probably they will give you extra 5 professional skill mark as well. And they will create a soft corner in the marker's mind and heart as well. So eventually, with such disciplined and well decorated script, you can score extra, you can fetch, you can literally steal extra 5 to 7 marks for sure. Is this clear? I hope everyone is going to promise with himself or with herself that you should follow these things and you should start paying proper time and energy to the introductory paragraph, to the conclusion paragraph, to the briefing note structure, to the materiality paragraph, to the justification of the materiality, chosen level of materiality paragraph. If it's a question where you have been asked to evaluate something, you should write a conclusion if it is possible. So these things will matter and they will create a huge impact. Trust me on that. So what about the exam requirements? Back to Magenta. Part A, evaluate the significant business risk to be considered in planning the group audit. So you have to evaluate significant business risk for 10 marks. And for part B, examiner has not asked you to evaluate and prioritize audit risk or evaluate and prioritize risk of material misstatement. Rather than that, examiner has asked you to justify why operating licenses, operating segments, and oil and gas extraction platform have been identified as a significant risk of material misstatement. Don't worry, don't overthink. It's all easy because the same to same drafting technique which I taught you in Encore company, Speedy Style company, Hot Group, Hammer Group, Winberry, Mercurio, Crux, Pale, and the list goes on. The same to same drafting technique is applicable on this particular exam requirement. No change whatsoever. Part C is about procedures, and in the part D, you have to discuss the auditor's responsibilities and the impact on audit planning because of the email. Now, I don't know what is in that email, not in the exhibit 5, actually in the exhibit 4. Okay, we are done with the exhibit number 1. Let's go for the exhibit number 2 now. Exhibit number 2. The group is one of the world's largest oil and gas companies with activities ranging from oil and gas, sometimes referred to as fossil fuels, exploration through to extraction and retail. So they explore, they extract, and they retail as well. So it's like Aramco company, which is one of the largest oil and gas company in the world. The group operates globally through wholly owned subsidiaries. Okay, so they have got no involvement or no joint venture, no other, they own all the subsidiaries. Most of the group shareholders are institutional investors, and a high profile investment manager has recently commented on social media that old fashioned oil companies are likely to become less attractive investments. Okay, so high profile, a very influential investment manager said it on the social media that old fashioned oil companies, such as this one, they are likely to become in the future less attractive investments. So it means they will struggle when it comes to attracting the investment, as more environmentally friendly policies across the world will drive down revenues and profits. So what this statement means? It means when the world's biggest governments and politicians and even the public at large will be attracted towards environmental friendly policies, when governments will shift their focus towards the environmental friendly companies across the world, automatically those old fashioned oil companies' profits and revenues will go down. On top of that, in addition, banks are requiring oil and gas companies to invest, such as this Magenta Group. In addition, banks are requiring companies such as Magenta Group to invest in renewable fuel technologies as a condition of providing finance. Okay, so we are done. Is this a business risk? Because we don't have to identify risk of material misstatement. We know we need risk of material misstatement in relation to operating segment, operating license, and oil and gas extraction platform. So my question is this a business risk? Now, what is business risk? A change in culture, technology, laws and regulations, preferences, certain operational issues, certain financial, non-financial issues, political issues, economical issues that could create problems for the company in the future. And as a result of that, their goals and objectives might not be achieved in the future. Their sales could go down, something like that. So does this whole piece of information fits according to the definition of business risk? Absolutely yes. It's all about your drafting technique and writing skills now. This definitely fits as a business risk. Why would I say that? Because considering the fact that all over the globe there are serious concerns over the greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, there is a huge possibility that governments would be committed to reduce the reliance on the fossil fuel. Governments want a transition from traditional fossil fuel to renewable energies. So, as a result of that, as a result of this sudden shift in the trend, this Magenta Group could have a huge impact on the future sales and the profits in the longer run. Moreover, if you will check out their financials, can you please help me out? Let's check out the exhibit 3. The company's expected revenue is 108,276 million, and out of that, from the renewable, it's just 15,254. So can you please let me know what is the percentage of revenue they are driving from traditional fossil fuel? Can you please help me out with the calculation? If you could, like, you can perform calculation in either way. For example, 15,254 divided by 108,276. So if it gives you 14%, it means, thank you very much. If it is giving you 14%, it means the company is heavily relying on the sales of the traditional fossil fuel, as it is approximately 86% of the group's revenue. So this will score an extra half mark. This calculation is important. And guys, by the way, guys, if their sales would go down, guys, listen to me. If the sales would go down of their existing platforms, you know what? Their their oil extraction platform would become unviable to run. Imagine, a, you know what happened in COVID? You can't stop the oil exploration. You are extracting it. Now, if the world is not moving, if the airports are dead, if the roads are empty as hell, then what? What are you going to do? Don't you remember that in the peak of COVID-19, the oil prices dropped down like anything? So imagine if the future sales would go down. This will have a huge impact on their extraction sites as well, because there is a possibility those sites would not be viable anymore. To be very honest, that is why world's biggest oil companies are targeting poor or smaller countries all around the globe, especially after COVID-19. Why? Because the world's biggest and the richest economies have moved towards electric vehicles. They have gone for sustainable, environmental friendly sources of fuel such as solar, wind, and whatnot. So, as a result of that, those countries are not heavily relying on fossil fuels, and that is why the corporate giants in the world of oil and gas sector, they were facing business risk. Now, what options do they have? So they have moved and they have targeted those part of the world where there is still a room and a margin for, for the sale of the oil and gas, or I can say the fossil fuel. So I hope this makes sense. We are done with the first business risk. Let's talk about the next part. The group has exploration rights across the world, enabling it to test for new sources of oil and gas to replace existing sources as they are depleted. So they've got the rights. Once one site is depleted, they can replace it. Okay. The number of viable sites discovered has been reducing year on year. What does that mean? Imagine you are an oil and gas giant company. Once you are done with a site, once you are done with a particular site, you go for another one. But in the last few years, the number of viable site means where you can actually have a positive cost versus benefit analysis. Okay, fine, we will invest, for example, $300 million, but we will end up getting 500, 600, $700 million out of it. So the number of viable sites discovered has been reducing year on year. So it means if the number of viable sites would go down year on year, there is a huge possibility that the company's future sales and profits would be vulnerable. Moreover, if the governments across the globe, they would come up with strict policies, it might become more challenging for the group to attract and attain the exploration rights in new locations. So imagine if you are a group and you rely on new sites for oil and gas extraction. And if you fail to obtain exploration rights or your existing sites are not viable anymore, just imagine as a result of changing government policies, it might become really difficult for you to survive. You might not be able to retain or maintain the existing level of sales. Mind you, you rely a lot on those extraction sites because your 86% of the total revenue is still dependent on those things, on those fossil fuels. And maybe once you don't have much viable sites, certain exploration sites might outweigh the revenue. So maybe you might spend more and you might not get a lot out of them. Maybe they are not productive anymore or not that attractive anymore. Okay. So no risk of material misstatement so far. The group extracts oil and gas through deep sea oil extraction platforms. The oil and gas is then transported via land or sea for either refining into fuel and other products or for sale on the wholesale market. Okay, so there is a transportation involved. Okay, these platforms are used for around 40 to 50 years before the depletion of the reserves render them uneconomic to continue operating. Obsolete oil platforms are generally required by governments to be decommissioned, a process which can take several years and cost over 500 million per platform. So this is another business risk. Per site, it takes about 500 million for decommissioning. And this is highly subjective and uncertain. You never know. It's uncertain because it's about future. It's subjective because the numbers could be, one could argue some different number. So this decommissioning cost, which is massive, this is another business risk because the group is actually responsible for the decommissioning of the oil platforms at the end of the useful life. And this is a significant amount that could actually strain the future cash flows of the company. Now, considering the fact the lifespan is so long, that is potentially up to 50 years, there is a huge element of uncertainty. and this cost can actually overrun this. These estimates could be wrong, so this could create a bigger problem for the company in the future. Okay, what about the fourth business risk? The transportation of fossil fuel is a widely debated issue, with environmental groups demanding stricter laws to deal with spillages or leaks. Now imagine if there is a leakage of oil in the sea or somewhere during the transportation, considering the pressure the company is facing, considering the environmental groups, considering the government strict policies, considering the fact that people around the world or the general population, they are moving towards environmental friendly options. This could have a massive impact on the company's future sales and profits, and this could be, really disturbing for the company. Imagine the reputational damage which might be faced by the company because of such issues. So these things are super important. If there is any accident or spill as a result of any leakage, just imagine the bad publicity or reputational damage it could lead. And moreover, the company could face regulatory fines, penalties, cleanup costs, which will have a huge impact on the company's cash flows and profits. Okay, last, so we are done with four business risks. By the way, we need five. Let's move forward now. Okay, revenue. The group has three main revenue streams. The fuel sales division covers diesel and aviation fuel sales, along with sales from retail convenience at the fuel filling station. The lubricant division provides products to the automotive, industrial, marine, and finally, um, um, and energy markets and the wholesale division. Okay, so this is the breakdown of their revenue. Let's move forward. The group operates a new renewable energy division to reflect the growing demand for the environmentally sustainable energy. The division was created in response to environmental concerns surrounding the risk of climate change resulting from greenhouse gases. Guys, now you have to concentrate. So the company's 86% of the total revenue is from the fossil fuel. The company or the group is facing a lot of pressure, a lot of demand, and as a result of that, they have created a new division which is called a renewable division, environmental sustainable energy division. The division was created because of the pressure, because of the concerns that there are significant impacts of the greenhouse gases. So the group's long-term plans are to continue to develop renewable energy sources in order to meet the climate change targets. So clearly, they have created this particular division because of the pressure, because of just to maintain their green reputation, or this is all because of the pressure, because of the government's pressure, so just to meet the climate change targets set by the government in the country in which the group is headquartered. Guys, you have got 1 minute. This is going to be important in the future, so please read it on your own. Please understand, the group's total revenue can be divided into two portions. As of now, 86% of the total revenue is dependent on the key product, which is the fossil fuel. But because of the growing pressure, because of the government's climate change targets, because of a pressure to create and positive environmental impact, because of the climate change resulting from the greenhouse gases, they created a new division which is called renewable energy division. And according to them, they are going to work on renewable energy division. Clearly, they are doing it because of the pressure. Okay. Pressure from the government, pressure from the public at large. In addition, this division acts as a protection against the fluctuation in oil and gas wholesale price. The renewable sale levels are expected to reach the threshold to be reported as a separate segment of revenue for the first time in the financial statements for the year ending 30th September 20x5. Guys, let me take you back to the exam requirement. The exam requirement says, justify why each of the following issues have been identified as a significant risk of material misstatement. I am talking about the part two, which is operating segment. And when I say justify why this is a significant risk of material misstatement, I said the drafting technique is same. What is the drafting technique? Step number one, we will identify this little portion from the question paper and we will paste it on the answer sheet. Step number two, develop the point. How do we develop? What accounting standard rule or accounting standard says about it? Which standard? Can you tell me in the chat box which standard? Which accounting standard? Thank you very much. IFRS 8. So you will write what IFRS 8 is all about. That is your step one of the development. Then, why is there a risk? Now, when I say why is there a risk, you will say this is for the first time ever they have to report it. They might be making a mistake. There is a possibility that the actual revenue is inflated or exaggerated just to show off the current and the potential shareholders and even the institutional stakeholders and even the governments that yes, look at us, we are moving in the right direction, we are going for the sustainable division, sustainable renewable sales, so we are actually working on renewable energy. So those numbers could be highly inflated. That is where you score why is there a risk. And then finally, impact. The impact would be there is a possibility that the revenue from the renewable sources could be overstated. There is a possibility that as a result of that, those disclosures in relation to the operating segment would be inappropriate as well. This answer can actually score multiple marks, and if you would write it properly and if you would make the best use of the information available in the question, you can actually score professional skill mark as well. How can you score professional skill marks? By just making sure that you need to make the best use of the information available in the question. So evaluation of significant risk of material misstatement. For the purpose of these briefing notes, the following overall materiality level will be used, which is based on profitability as requested by the partner in the email. The lower threshold is going to be 162 million and the higher threshold is 323 million, being the 5 and 10% of the profit. Considering the fact the group is a massive company, it's a big company, it's a listed company, and there are multiple significant subjectivities involved, such as those decommissioning costs, such as the useful lives of those extraction platforms, such as those licenses. So there is a huge vulnerability and there is a huge institutional pressure, a pressure to deliver, a pressure to diversify. I would say that the overall risk of material misstatement is on the higher side. That is why I'm choosing the lower threshold of 162 million. But again, this is an initial judgment. I can change it as the audit will progress. Guys, let's talk about operating segment. Let's recall the steps. Step number one, we will identify the issue from the question. Step number two, we will develop the point. And when I say develop the point, accounting rule, why there is a risk, and maybe I can score professional skill marks. And finally, the impact. Let's read my drafted answer. The renewable sale levels are expected to reach the threshold to be reported as a separate segment of revenue for the first time in the financial statements for the year ending 30th September 20x5. This is from the question paper, no marks scored. Step number two, let's develop my point. Accounting rule. This is a listed entity, so it must disclose information in the notes to the financial statements in accordance with IFRS 8 operating segments. According to IFRS 8, a segment is defined as a component of the entity, whose operating results are regularly reviewed by the chief operating decision maker. So you can write CODM once so that you don't have to write it again and again. To allocate resources and assess performance. Companies are required to report any segment that constitutes over 10% of the entity's revenue, profits, or assets. This whole piece of information, you understood all that in your FR. You again understood all that in SBR. Now you have to understand it briefly once again. You don't have to invest 1 hour on IFRS 8. This paragraph alone is good enough for the AAA exam. And then you have to absorb it and learn it as well. Now, this is the accounting rule. Now, the next step is why there is a risk. With renewable projected to represent 14% of the total's revenue for the year ending 30th September 20x5, it actually meets the 10% threshold, so it must be disclosed as a separate operating segment. Now you can score professional skill marks. You can say there is a risk that the client has intentionally misclassified the fossil fuel revenue and the revenue from the renewable sources or streams just to boost this segment. Why would they boost this segment? Because there is an extraordinary pressure on the group to show off or to reflect that yes, they are working in the renewable sector as well, and they are not relying on the fossil fuel only. So that will score a professional skill mark once you incorporate the pressure from the institutional stakeholders and the government impact. There is a risk of material misstatement if the segment disclosure is inaccurate, incomplete, or misaligned with how the financial performance is actually monitored by CODM internally. What if the chief operating decision maker is not bothered about this operating segment? They are not bothered about the renewable stream. This could lead to misleading financial information for stakeholders. So you can actually score multiple marks by making sure you actually discuss that the client's main revenue stream is 90% or more from the 86% from the fossil fuel and hardly 14%, and they have got a pressure to show strong growth in renewables, a pressure from the governments, a pressure from the group, from the institutional investors. So we are finally done with one. Remember, we had to cover three, so we are done with one. Let's go for the second one. The first one was operating licenses. We are done with operating segments, operating licenses, and then oil and gas exploration platforms. Okay. Okay, what about Exhibit 3? Uh, Fuels and lubricants, wholesale, renewable, other, profit before tax have gone up, total assets have gone up. Okay. Okay, operating licenses. The group holds oil and gas extraction licenses. Guys, get ready. This is one of the risk of material misstatement we need to justify. The group holds oil and gas extraction licenses for each of its platform. Okay. So I am the group. Let's call it Magenta Group. I hold oil and gas extraction license. Now the license is for each and every platform. So for each and every platform, I've got a license. Now these licenses in relation to those platform, let's call them operating licenses. These range in duration from 20 years to 50 years. Okay. However, all licenses are amortized. Yes, we need to amortize. I will write it in my answer. Yes, we need to amortize these operating licenses because they do not have an indefinite useful life. Agreed. All licenses are amortized. Agreed. on an average of 40 years, and their carrying value is massive, highly material. Guys, are you convinced with this accounting treatment? I will identify and I will copy paste this piece of information from the question paper that the group holds oil and gas extraction license, and these licenses vary from 20 years to 50 years, but the client, they choose an average method of amortizing it on an average of 40 years. So those licenses, they all have specific useful life, but the client is applying an average useful life. Is this allowed by the standard? Not really. Why is there a risk? As a result of that, the year, well done. Yes, it's not allowed. As a result of that, the year end assets could be materially misstated. The depreciation, or sorry, the amortization expenses, they could be materially misstated as well. So let's keep it simple and let's follow the same drafting technique which we just discussed for the operating segments. Step number one: my client holds oil and gas extraction license. On an average, the useful life is from 20 years to 50 years, but my client amortize each and every site on an average of 40 years, flat 40 years. This is the piece of information I've picked up from the question. Step number two, develop the point. When I say develop the point, tell me what the standard says, why there is a risk, impact on the financial statement items. Each asset should be amortized individually over its specific useful life, because this approach will lead you towards more accurate and realistic values, both in terms of the carrying value and in terms of the amortization expense. That is what the standard says. Why there is a risk? It is appropriate to amortize the licenses. Why? They have got a finite life. However, the period over which they are amortized, this may not be appropriate, because 20 years to 50 years, it's a huge range. And if you're choosing one number, that is 40 years, this could have serious implications. If some licenses are, as there is a possibility, some licenses would be amortized excessively over a longer period, which means overstated intangible assets. And the other way around is also possible, which means understated intangible assets. So overall, this will not only have an impact on the misstated intangible assets, this will have an impact on the company's profit as well, because ultimately, once the amortization expense is not correct, ultimately it will have an effect on the profit for the year as well. So guys, please, you have got couple of minutes. Please read this portion all over again from the yellow to green and tell me the steps and the drafting technique is same. Is it clear? You've got 2 minutes for that. Can I have multiple yes on that? Are you absolutely clear? Step number one, I'm identifying the information or the risk of material misstatement from the question. Step number two, I got to develop my point for amortization. For that, I will briefly discuss what the standard says. If there is something correctly done by the client, I will appreciate that. If there is something which is incorrect, I will discuss the risk. And finally, what impact it will create on the profit or loss account, or what impact it will create on the certain financial statement items. Is this clear? The drafting technique and the steps. Okay, I've got multiple yes. Similarly, you have got another couple of minutes. Please read this one as well. Step number one, I identified the information from the question paper, which was about operating segment being reported for the first time. Step number two, I had to develop the point. And when I say develop the point, I should discuss what the IFRS 8 says in general, then why there is a risk that the client accounting treatment or the disclosure could be wrong. Moreover, the risk of management bias because of the government's pressure, because of the institutional investors' pressure that could score extra professional skill mark along with a technical mark. So when you discuss there is an investor pressure, that when you discuss that the client's main source of income is still fossil fuel and their wholesale has hardly grown by 1%, you actually score extra technical and a professional skill mark. And finally, the impact. The disclosure could be wrong, and as a result of that, financial information could be misleading. Can I have yes on that as well? Same drafting technique for both. Is this clear? Thank you. Let's go for the kill and let's go for the third and the final one, which is about oil extraction platforms. The group operates 38 offshore oil and gas platforms of varying sizes. Guys, you need to understand, it's not about one platform. They have got oil extraction platforms, 38. These are classified as property, plant, and equipment with a total carrying amount of 29,201 million, which is clearly material. The cost of the platform includes, okay, the group operates 38 offshore oil and gas platforms of varying sizes. These are classified as property, plant, equipment with a total carrying amount of this. The cost of the platform includes the estimated future decommissioning cost discounted to present value at the date the platform is ready for use. Okay, so this decommissioning point can be used as a risk of material misstatement as well. Each oil platform is depreciated based on the amount of oil and gas extracted as a proportion of total expected volumes over the life of the oil platform. Depreciation for the year to 30th September 20x5 is projected to be 926 million. So definitely this depreciation expense is significantly material, and their chosen method of materiality is allowed and in line with IS 16, and that could be one of the significant risk of material misstatement which we can discuss because their estimates or their assumptions or their calculation could be incorrect. The group treats each oil platform as a separate CGU and performs an annual review for each of these CGUs for indicators of impairment. So you need to discuss IS 36 over here. Where an indicator of impairment exists, the group performs an impairment test. So yes, this is where you can actually discuss another risk of material misstatement. Due to the nature of the oil platforms and difficulty obtaining a market value for the sales value of each side, the impairment test compares carrying amount of the combined platform components with the value in use. Future reserves are estimated based on long-term oil and gas price predictions, and costs are based on average operating and capital costs associated with the specific platform after adjusting for predicted inflation rates. These are then discounted at the group's standard discount rate for platforms of 1.5%. So they apply one discount rate for all extraction platforms. They don't consider that different geographical locations can have a different discount rate. No, they don't do that. Estimates are reviewed on a 6 monthly basis, enabling management to have up-to-date figures for the interim financial statements. The reviews at 31st March 20x5 resulted in impairment losses recognized of 350 million. Okay, so there was an impairment loss recognized of 350 million. And at the same time, there was an impairment reversal of 560 million with the net credit recognized within the operating profit. So 560 350, still 210, it's a material amount. It's over and above the materiality level which we have chosen. And there is always a risk when they applied this impairment reversal. According to the standard, they cannot exceed a particular threshold, with the threshold which believes that even assuming there was no impairment whatsoever to begin with, you cannot exceed that particular amount when you are reversing the impairment. None of the oil platform CGUs has any attributable goodwill. Okay, we are done. So yes, there is a risk of material misstatement in relation to the impairment reversal as well. So impairment reversal 1 and the depreciation 2 and future revenues are estimated based on long-term oil and gas price prediction and based on average operating and capital costs that can have distortions. That's three decommissioning cost 4. So there are multiple risk of material misstatement available in relation to oil extraction platforms. Now you should not write during the exam about all of them. So if you could write about 3, that's perfectly all right, and you can score full marks. So let's talk about few. First of all, the group holds oil and gas extraction licenses. No. The platform. Okay. Now, the first valuable information is about depreciation. Each oil platform is depreciated based on the amounts of oil and gas extracted as a proportion of the total expected volume. So is this method allowed according to I-16? The answer is yes. First of all, this 926 million is highly material. Now, what about the calculation in relation to depreciation? First of all, according to I-16 property plant equipment, the depreciable amount should be allocated systematically over the asset's useful life. The chosen depreciation method should reflect the pattern in which assets' economic benefits are consumed. So the method which they have used, they are using units of production method. It is appropriate to use this method because what they are doing is it is based on the proportion of extracted reserves to total estimated reserves. So what they have extracted so far divided by what they expect to extract over the useful life. So according to the standard, the method which they have chosen, it's all right, it's appropriate. But still there is a risk. What's the risk? These estimates are highly sensitive to fluctuations in long-term oil and gas prices. What if in the longer run, the oil and gas price might go down, and as a result of that, that site might not be that productive for you. And as a result of that, in the future, that could have an impact on the economic viability of that site. If the market conditions would change, the quantity of resources that can be profitably extracted may vary. So imagine if you're unable to sell off the oil or gas in the market, why would you extract it? Or even if you will extract it, there is no point of doing it. So it means if the future prices decline, this can result in a shorter economic life or a faster consumption of the benefit, which means the depreciation expense would be understated, the carrying value would be overstated. So there is a huge possibility that the depreciation expense is insufficient. Moreover, considering the fact management, there is a possibility management may be reluctant to adjust this depreciation rate upward because as a result of that, their assets would deplete quickly. There is going to be a negative image in front of the institutional investors. So all this makes me believe that if these estimates are inaccurate or overly optimistic, the year-end depreciation expense would be understated, and as a result of that, property, plant, equipment would be overstated, and even the profit would be overstated as well. So let me summarize this complicated risk of material misstatement. My client is using a particular depreciation method. First of all, I will appreciate that this is highly material. Secondly, I will acknowledge and I will appreciate that indeed the chosen method is in line with IS 16 property plant equipment. So it's not completely wrong. I'm not saying it's incorrect. But because there is a higher level of uncertainty in the future, the oil and gas prices in the market in the future can go down dramatically. And as a result of that, the benefits which you can obtain or extract from a particular site could go down dramatically. There is a risk that all those calculations, all those judgments, all those estimates surrounding the useful economic life could be wrong. On top of that, management has got an incentive to show off stronger image in front of the institutional investors. They want to show off that no, their sites are very lucrative and very attractive. So that also adds more risk to it. And maybe management does not want to have a shorter or a faster consumption rate. They don't want to increase the depreciation rate upwards. And as a result of that, if those estimates or judgments in relation to the economic useful life of those sites are incorrect, as a result of that, depreciation expense would be understated, property, plant, equipment, and the profit would be overstated. This was the first risk of material misstatement in relation to oil platforms. Mind you, with respect to oil platforms, we have got multiple issues. Oil platforms, first issue has got to do with depreciation. Now, again, oil platforms, but this time impairment. The group, Magenta Group, they treat each oil platform as a separate CGU. And they perform an annual review for each of these CGU for the sake of evaluating whether there is any indicator of impairment. Where an indicator of impairment exists, then they perform the impairment test. Okay. During this year, they have reversed 560 million. They had an impairment loss of 210 million. The net off figure, the impairment loss of 350 million, reversal of 560 million, and the net effect of 210 million is still over and above the materiality threshold. That scores your materiality mark. Let's discuss the standard. The standard says, according to IS 36 impairment of an asset is considered impaired if the carrying value is greater than the recoverable amount, and the recoverable amount is the higher of the fair value less cost to sell and the value in use. Now, why there is a risk? Once you have discussed information from the question, materiality, IS 36, why there is a risk? There is a risk that these recoverable amounts for each and every CGU, this is a complex area. This requires significant judgment. The useful lives are 20 years to 50 years. They are highly sensitive to assumptions. They are highly sensitive to assumptions in relation to oil and gas. Nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody saw electric vehicles coming. You never know what is going to be the future. The future is highly volatile. So considering all these factors, there is a huge possibility that these assumptions about the long-term oil and gas prices, because that is how they determine the value in use, these could be wrong. Moreover, the company is using what? The company is using future operating costs and platform specific discount rates. The company is not using platform based discount rates. The company is using one single discount rate across all the calculations, across all the CGUs. So there is a huge possibility this one single discount rate might not correctly reflect the calculations or the assumptions. You never know, because of diverse political and economic risks. There is a possibility for different platform locations, different calculations, and different assumptions need to be applied. Each cash generating unit faces unique risk based on its own geographic and operational environment. So if you apply a single CGU specific discount rate, that would have been more appropriate rather than one single rate across all the CGUs. So there is a risk that the calculations performed in relation to the impairment, they are not correct. resulting in either an overstatement or an understatement of the CGU's asset value and impairment. So this and all the calculations performed by the client in relation to the impairment testing, that could be wrong. Moreover, another point, during the year they had a reversal of impairment. IAS 36. Now you don't have to pick up the information from the question. You don't have to discuss the materiality. Straight away go for the standard and don't even discuss what is impairment, because you have already discussed it. Straight away go towards the reversal part. According to IAS 36, you are allowed to apply the reversal of impairment losses, but only if there has been a change in the estimate that initially led to impairment. So if there are genuinely, conditions have changed. Moreover, any reversal, this is important, any reversal cannot increase the carrying amount of the asset above what its depreciated historical cost would have been if no impairment have been recognized. So you cannot overstate the asset to an extent that it would increase the level which would have been had there been no impairment whatsoever. So generally such reversals are recognized through profit or loss in the period of the reversal. There is a risk that the reversals may be calculated using CGU's value in use, potentially exceeding the asset's depreciated historical cost. So there is a possibility they have exceeded the historical cost, and as a result of that, their assets are overstated, their profits are overstated, just to show off a better position. So with respect to their extraction sites or the oil platforms, the first risk is the depreciation could be incorrect because of higher level of subjectivity. Secondly, their impairment testing, especially using one single rate, that could be wrong, again, because of extraordinary assumptions and uncertainty. Lastly, the reversal of impairment, the calculation surrounding it could be wrong as well. Let's not discuss the decommissioning provision cost. You can always do it on your own because there has to be a provision in relation to that. That provision could be incorrect as well. So there are multiple risk of material misstatement in relation to the oil platform. For example, operating segment, operating license, and then the oil platform. And for the oil platforms, number one, depreciation, number second, impairment, number third, reversal of impairment. This is it. We are done with the part A and B. Let me quickly take you towards the last part. But before I actually move towards the last part, let's talk about the Exhibit 4, which is an email. The email which was received by the partner from the chairman of the audit committee, and the subject is some suspicious payment. The email was received by my partner 15 days ago, that is on 15 June. The email says from the chairman of the audit committee, our internal audit department has been performing a review of the acquisition of operating licenses and associated costs. So during the year, the group acquired a license, an operating license. Okay. And the audit department was reviewing the costs associated with it. And they brought to my attention a payment made outside of the normal internal control process. So something suspicious. A payment of 0.2 million was made in January directly to a politician in another country, where the group has been negotiating a new license. So basically the group was negotiating a license in a particular country, and then at some point of time the group made a payment of 0.2 million directly to that politician, and its authorization has been traced back to one of the regional operations director. Okay, so one of the director made this payment and authorized the payment. This payment appears to have been made just before the politician stopped opposing. So it means before the payment, that politician was opposing the renewal or the issuance of the license. But probably after getting that bribe, He stopped opposing a new oil platform in the region. So after that, he didn't oppose. I'm concerned that this payment may be linked to granting of the operating license. Yes, indeed. And also that it was possible to bypass our internal controls on payments for licenses. I'm also concerned that this was not detected by you as our auditors at the interim audit. So he wants to know why you did not pick this information during the interim audit. Well, we work on a sample basis, so there is always a possibility if it was properly concealed, we couldn't pick it up. I would like to discuss this further at our pre-audit briefing. Thank you. So this question is more of a knowledge-based question, and the question says, what is auditor's responsibility? What was the question itself? You have to discuss the auditor's responsibility and what impact it will have on the audit planning. What impact it will have on the audit planning. You will be more skeptic. There is a clear indication of there are question marks over the integrity of the management. As far as the auditor's responsibility is concerned, yes, there is a possibility, there is a responsibility of the auditor to understand the laws and regulations applicable. So yeah, something like that. For for there are 8 marks, so you need to write 4 to 5 well-explained points to score full marks. Okay, so first of all, this there is a let's start from the question itself. There is an email from the group audit committee, and they have referred to an unusual payment that may constitute bribe to a government official, potentially aimed at expediting the granting of an extraction license in that country. So most likely that bribe was made to a politician just to make sure they actually get the license. Mind you, these payments are illegal in many jurisdictions, and it also raises the possibility that the group have engaged in an unlawful act. So my client is involved in a criminal activity. It's bribe, it's money laundering. It's a criminal activity. As a result of that, whatever they're going to earn from that platform or from that license, it's all money laundering. It's all proceeds of a crime. Okay. Number second, what about my responsibility? As an auditor, according to the standard, it is my responsibility to understand the laws and regulations that are applicable within the client or the framework in which my client operates. I need to understand all the laws and regulations so that I could identify where a non-compliance has been made. And I need to understand what impact of that non-compliance, what impact it will have on the financial statements. So consider, mind you, it is management who is responsible for ensuring the compliance. But as an auditor, it is my responsibility to understand the legal framework, and it is my responsibility to remain vigilant and skeptic and detect any non-compliance, because that non-compliance could have a material impact on the financial statements. So first of all, I've discussed what's going on. How is it legal or illegal? Then I've discussed my responsibility, but at the same time, I've highlighted primarily it's the management responsibility, but I have to be vigilant because it can actually impact the audit risk. It can actually impact the material misstatement in the financial statement. Now, this entire situation where a director is also involved in authorizing this bribe payment, that raises doubts over the integrity of the management. So the auditor needs to re-evaluate the entire risk. As an auditor, once we realize that there are question marks over the integrity of the management, the overall risk becomes so high. Because if the integrity of the management is not intact, there is a huge possibility that they have overridden multiple controls. There is a huge possibility that there are other illegal or fraudulent activities as well. So overall integrity of the management is going to be a point of concern for the auditor. Similarly, the payment may not have been detected in the interim audit. The chairman wants to know as well. Well, we do not test every transaction, so there is a possibility they somehow override the control and we couldn't pick it up during the normal audit procedures. So they bypass the internal controls. As an audit firm, now what impact it will have on the audit planning? I need, first of all, I have to be more vigilant. I have to reassess the integrity. I have to reassess the risk. And one more thing, I need to consider whether this non-compliance, once I'm sure about the non-compliance, once I'm sure that there is an illegal act, I need to consider whether I need to report this entire issue to a third party, such as some law or when law enforcement agency or someone like that. I need to consider the public interest factor as well. Before I disclose all that to a third party, I need to consider the confidentiality principle as well. So for that, I will seek legal advice, i.e., SBA Code of Ethics allows me to declare such incidents in good faith, especially if it has got to do with the bribe. Last but surely not the least, whatever thinking, planning, discussion I will do in relation to this bribe issue, I need to document all that because this could be handy for me in the future. You never know if there is any legal action. So overall, I will discuss what is the issue, what is going on, and how this is an illegal activity. Why, who am I responsible? Primarily, it's management responsibility, but yes, I have to consider this as well. I will discuss the integrity of the management. I will discuss the fact that how it skipped my interim audit. I need to consider, should I disclose this information to a third party? I need to consider the principle, the fundamental principle of confidentiality, but at the same time, I can put it aside and share it in the public interest. Lastly, I need to document everything in relation to this. Okay, so this was something unusual. This is not from the ethics, but this is really important, but it requires a lot of common sense, to be very honest. So this is it. We are done with the business risk. We are done with the risk of material misstatement, and we are done with the risk of material misstatement. Guys, let's read one business risk as well. Let's read one business risk. So according to the question, most of the group shareholders are institutional investors. And one high profile investment manager recently said on a social media platform that those old fashioned oil companies are likely to become less attractive because their revenues, their profits would go down. Now, let's discuss the business risk. Due to the environmental concerns all around the globe, because of the greenhouse gas emissions, the climate change, the catastrophic environmental disasters, many governments are committed to reducing the impact of the fossil fuel consumptions. Governments are encouraging and giving subsidies to renewable, sustainable sources of fuels. So if that is the case, and this transition means the company's future revenues and profits would be vulnerable. Mind you, as we speak, the group's 86% of the total revenue is dependent on that declining market. So they are heavily relying on the declining market. Imagine a company having 86% revenue derived from a declining product. So this sudden shift in the world, this trend, it could have a significant impact on the group's future sales and profit. As we speak, they are a stronger company. But what about the future? So this decreasing sales means their existing oil platforms will become unviable. Guys, please understand, if this is a oil platform, and as a company I believe I can extract oil for next 50 years. What if there is no demand after 10 years? So all of a sudden, not only companies future sales are questionable, Their reputation is questionable. Moreover, their assets would they would deplete significantly. So as a result of that, there is going to be a massive decrease in the value of the group's asset, which will have a huge impact on the company's cost and the future sales and the profitability. So, guys, I am done with this question, which is called Magenta Company. Now, let me check out the chat box. Hasib is saying, sir, only auditor's responsibilities has been asked. So is it essential that we explain what has happened? Actually, before I actually start discussing my responsibility, I need to build a case that it is indeed an illegal and a criminal activity. That is why. And that also gives you a right direction. Sir, can we get this Magenta drafted answer on the portal? Yes, you will. Any other question from anyone or anything which I've missed earlier on? Any other question or any other concern from anyone? Otherwise, I need to take your leave. I hope so that this session was helpful. As far as tomorrow's session is concerned, tomorrow's session is at 10 a.m. UAE time, which actually means we have got hardly 11.5 hours left. So I'll see you after 11.5 hours for a session which is going to be about syllabus area E, a confirmed 25 mark question. So don't miss tomorrow's session. I joined late, so I wanted to know when you share top 30 questions. Well, as far as the top 30 questions are concerned, I will definitely share my top 30 right after this session. Don't worry. Not only top 30, but also a revision plan which includes top 30 questions. Any other question from anyone? Duration for tomorrow class would be 1.5 hours to 1.45 hours, not exceeding 2 hours for sure. I believe it's going to be 1.5 hours. And the recording, don't rely, it's a weekend. Recording might come up after 2, 3 days. You never know. Sharif, can you please repost, copy paste your question again? It's 10 a.m. tomorrow morning UAE time. Absolutely. Malaika, you are dead right. Any other question? Thank you, sir, for your valuable session. Most welcome. Yes. Yes, Sibkar. Check out your local time. Yes, 11 a.m. Yes. Any other question? Sharif, can you please post your question again? Please. Sir, will we do any due diligence question? Due diligence question is available on the LMS, so I'm not sure if I'm going to target due diligence tomorrow. Sharif, is it ISQM 1 or 2 which requires listed companies to have engagement quality review? Yes, according to ISQM 1, each and every listed company must go through engagement quality review indeed. ISQM 1, ISQM 2, and ISA 220. All three auditing standards are super important. I've covered all three along with the technical article in one single lecture, available in my revision plan, available in my top 30. Sir, I've covered syllabus area stage 1. It means syllabus area ABC, audit risk and business risk, okay, which means stage 2, and audit report section. It means completion, review, and reporting, but not everything. Some few topics procedure is still manageable. Absolutely, why not? But to be very honest, your your exam preparation and your approach so far seems to be haphazard. So you need to follow the revision plan and just stick with those top 30 lectures. You don't have time for haphazard and experimental strategies, okay? But game on, you can pass the exam. I'm sure. I've got a question from Indu and sir, updated master file will be shared tomorrow. I am 95% sure that once I will be done with the tomorrow session, immediately at the end of the session, I will share the file. Probably during the session, I will show you the file, and right after the session, I will share it. As of now, it's not ready. Just remind me tomorrow during the session. See you tomorrow live. Sir, I am left with revising syllabus area F. What would be the suggested approach? Well, for syllabus area F, prepare 2 assignments per day. So it means you can invest three days. Use book if you're a full-time student. Use test your understandings. Within 3 days, you will be absolutely prepared, and then move towards my top 10 questions relevant to syllabus area F. If you are running out of time, if you're a working professional, if you are just going to join the batch, okay, not top 10, but at least top 6, which I mentioned in my top 30. Okay, Sibga is saying thank you very much, Sibga, for your kind words. Thank you, Sharif. Zunaira, before mock, we need to prepare and be ready. Absolutely. Sir, which technical article you will prefer us to read from March 26 session? I will share my list of top 15. But mind you, my top 30, my revision plan automatically covers all important technical articles. But still, I will, for the self-study students, those who are not having access to it, still I will share a list of top 15. Okay. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sorry to ask. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. UAE time, which syllabus area will be covered? I am planning for the syllabus area E. Why? Can you answer into why? Why should I target syllabus area E? My plan is syllabus area E, but why? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, guys, let me take your leave. It's time for me to take your leave, and I'll see you after, well, within the next 12 hours with a relatively shorter, precise, to the point session, which is going to be an extremely important session. And that session can actually give you 25 out of 25 marks in your final exam because I will be targeting syllabus area E completion review and reporting. Thank you very much, guys. I hope to see you tomorrow because tomorrow is a day where all of you are invited, but day after tomorrow, only the revision course students would be invited. So thank you very much. Take care. Night, night. Bye bye. I will share the revision plan right after this session. I will share the master file later tomorrow. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.